Nicely done. So, my favorite part of this night right now is happening, so it's very cool. I get the privilege and honor of introducing our guest speaker tonight, C. Williams Jones, aka Coach. Oh, he's not coming up right now. Hang on, relax. I got a whole, I got something to read here. This is good stuff. So, Coach played for Powerhouse Southwestern High School from 1980 to 1984, winning 3 league titles and making it to 3 straight state championship title games. After high school, he went to the University of Iowa, where he set the school record for most steals. I thought it would have been blocks. I don't know where the steals came from, but that's cool. I'm a hockey guy, though, so I'm sure there's more to that, right? He also helped the Hawkeyes to 4 straight consecutive berths into the NCAA tournament, and they finished in the Elite 8 in 1987. He didn't get drafted to the NBA, but he did get to do what many people can only dream of, and that is playing in the NBA with the New Jersey Nets. It wasn't a long tenure, but hey, he made it and has pictures to prove it. He's got one that I really love. He keeps in his office, and it's him as a New Jersey Net guarding MJ. Michael Jordan, all right? I saw the picture one day, I'm like, I have to do a story just on this, because that is way too cool. But, you know, when you are the underdog, when you're not supposed to do things in life and you end up doing things, hey. So when he played, how many games? How many games in the NBA? 32. 42. Okay. You made it. And you have a picture to prove it. And these are memories that are going to last a lifetime, and it's a great story to tell. So, awesome. Congratulations to you for that. It's a memory. So, Coach ended up playing pro in Europe. It was an all-star and an MVP. After his playing career, he got into coaching, which brought him here to the great city Windsor in 2012 with the launch of the NBL of Canada. He led the Windsor Express to 2 championships, 2 great years, and he won the Coach of the Year in 2014. He'll now lead the team into the BSL, which is the Basketball Super League, in early 2024. We're looking forward to seeing that. More teams, more action, more talent. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is the part I'm going to add to it, because Coach Jones, I've had an affinity for you for a long time. From the moment you walked into this city, I still remember this at the YMCA. You were just that guy, and I thought, this is a cool dude, right? But you know, when the first impression is big, but it's what I saw afterwards, right? So just the way you treat your players. I remember a few practices, and even one practice where you went out of your way. And I'm just, hey, listen. So I was the sports guy in town, right? And you know, I just go to games. I get to hang out with guys. It's really cool. He went out of his way. It was pretty much a new crop of players, and he went out of his way to say, hey guys, that guy over there, that's Bob Belichico. Say hi to Bob. And I thought, man, that is so good. Who would do that, right? That's Coach Jones right there. So it's a great honor and a great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this evening, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Jones.
How are you guys doing today? All right. Thank you, staff. You did a great job in providing the food. Everything was excellent. Look at Bob Belichico's plate over there. It's clean. Clean plate. Bob, the check is in the mail for all those good things we're talking about. All right? So today, I would like to thank Coach Guzmano and Dr. Smith and the committee for allowing me to come and speak to you guys. Right? This is something that I'm looking forward to. Being able to share my story about mental health. I'm a former high school All-American. I received a scholarship to play at the University of Iowa. I played in the NBA, the CBA, in Europe for 15 years. started my 16th year as a professional coach. Who is Bill Jones? Bill Jones is 6'7", 275 pounds. He comes from a family of mental health. My mother, my sister, my brother, me, and my kids, we all struggle with mental health. What is mental health? Mental health is a variety of things. It's a mood disorder, depression or bipolar, which my daughter suffers from, anxiety disorder, which is me, personality disorder, eating disorder, trauma-related disorders, substance abuse. Anxiety, it's a feeling or word, nervousness, uneasy, typical about imminent events or uncertain outcomes. Anxiety, sudden overwhelming of feelings, palpitations, sweating, and a feeling of being detached from the world, a fear of dying. Those are some of the things that are mental health. My first experience with mental health was in my junior year in college. Yeah, my family struggled with it, but for me, it was my first experience. I was a junior, I lived alone in the dorm, and I was on my way to class. And on my way to class, I had this feeling of being overwhelmed, dread, of being doomed. And I didn't know what it was. And I ended up going to class and being able to overcome. And my theme today is think happy thoughts. So I was thinking about good things as I was going to school or going to my class. And it surpassed. Before, here was another episode. This episode was with me as I was getting married. It was my first wedding, and I was going to Iowa. And I was at home, and I had this anxiety, a panic came over me. It was like a heart attack. My heart was racing, and I told my sister, come on, you gotta take me to the hospital. I think I'm gonna die. And you know what that was? That was a panic attack. How many people ever experienced panic attacks? Being overwhelmed, being able to think you dread or think you're gonna die. That was me at 21 years old, and I didn't know what it was. And the doctors, they gave me some medicine to be able to calm me down. So I thought it would be okay. Lo and behold, I was able to understand what anxiety was. And I got a book. And this book is called Managing Your Anxiety. And this book tells you about all of the things, the symptoms from anxiety, the symptoms of depression. And I was able to read that book, and that book helped me for 20 years. I was able to go back to being able to identify, okay, it's the onset. You're starting to sweat. You're starting to have palpitations. You're starting to lose one, or have blurriness in your eyes. And that's my onset of anxiety. And I still suffer from that today. So that book helped me in 20 years. Now we're talking about my professional career. I went to the CBA, and all of these things are attributed to depression, to not being your best, and not playing at your best. And now I went to the CBA, and I was really close to going to the NBA. And I was worried, I was stressing about, okay, I gotta play well this game. I gotta do the best. And then I ended up having another episode in which I was in a game, and I just felt it being overwhelmed, right? I started getting the blurriness in my eye, and my brother was at that game, and like I said earlier, he suffers from that. And he came and he calmed me down. Listen, relax, sit down and relax, and think happy thoughts. And I did, and it subsided. Because once that blurriness gets out, then that lets me know that I'm okay. That it's gone, and this too shall pass. And that anxiety passed. And then for that, my mother had to come and live with me. You're talking about a guy that's 6'7", about 180 pounds, and he's playing playing in the CBA, and he has a roommate, and his mom comes down. Because you know why? Because she suffered from it as well. And she knew my symptoms. And she knew that, you know what, I gotta go down there and take care of my son because he can't handle it just yet. So she came down there, she cooked for my roommate and I was constantly telling Mom, I'm sick, I don't know what it is. She was saying, Billy, just relax. Billy, just relax. Think happy thoughts. And that was able to pass. I was able to get through that. And then playing in Europe, Dardis, Willis, and Ryan, they heard these stories before and they was like, man, because this guy is a strong guy, a strong will, is being able to motivate and mentor young men. And now to be able to hear these stories, I remember Dardis, and I looked at him, now he can look down because he's heard the stories before. But when he first heard the stories, he was like, man, I didn't know. So I was in Europe, playing in Paris, and my family was over, and I was driving. And it was the pressure about playing in that next game. It was the pressure about making sure my family was safe over in Europe. And that feeling of dread, that feeling of destruction, of being able to die as I was driving, and my wife and my in-laws are in the car. And I had to be able to get myself together, to be able to get them to the apartment, to be able to get them secure while I go to a room and being able to identify that this anxiety is coming over me. It's coming into my life. It's coming into this trip that we're having with our family. And what I did was I went back to the book and I started thinking about happy thoughts, and it cleared. Now I'm coaching in the NBL Academy after my playing career. And we're playing in Halifax. And I'm in the tub, taking a bath, trying to relax before we have a game. And this feeling of hopelessness, dread, it comes over me. And I don't think that I'm going to make it. I don't think that I'm going to be able to coach this game. I don't think that I'm going to be able to prepare our team to go ahead for success. And it was bothering me. And I told myself, there's no way that you can succumb in Halifax, Canada. You have to get yourself together. You have to be able to work it out. And what did I do? I thought about happy thoughts, happy things in my life, and I was able to get through it. So I remember 5 years ago, right, Coach, Royce White came up and he spoke to a gentleman like yourself in a room, and I was sitting there, and I could identify with the things that he was talking about. I don't know if you guys remember or know who Royce White is. He was a heck of a player. He got drafted to Houston. He was a lottery pick. But one thing about him was he had fear. He had a fear to fly. Right? So how do you get to NBA games? You have to fly. So he couldn't get on a flight. So ultimately, they had to release him because he couldn't get the opportunity to do his job. So he was here speaking to a group of you all, and all of those things that he talked about, I was able to identify. Being overwhelmed, being scared to get on the plane, being afraid to be able to tell anybody about it. And I sat there and I was like, man, that's me. But it never got to the point to where I was able to share. I was able to tell my story. And then I had a health scare as a coach. You know, I thought I was going through anxiety. We would ride on a bus to Sudbury, Ontario. And I just didn't feel right. I started feeling those symptoms of anxiety coming. And I just, okay, we get to Sudbury. I'm in a hotel by myself. And I'm trying to think happy thoughts. I'm trying to get myself together to be able to get to this game, to be able to go in. So we go through our shoot round and we go through meetings. I can't make these meetings because I'm not feeling well. It's just like a bear on my back and I can't go out and do my job. So I waited until it was time to get to the bus, and I struggled to be be able to get to that bus, to be able to go to that game. So Coach Walls has been with a Coach Pete. They know how we prepare. Our coaches, they go out there, and I stay in our room, and I prepare for the game. But this particular game, I couldn't get up. I couldn't motivate myself to get to my desk and start preparing for the game and listen to my Christian music because I felt that I was having an anxiety attack. But really it wasn't that. I was on the verge of having a minor stroke. And all of those things combined, and I was down for about a month and a half. And then I said, you know what, enough is enough. I have to be able to get myself together. I have to be able to go out and seek help. And that help was with a therapist. That help was with medication. So we're talking about a 6'8" guy that's 275 pounds, finally standing up and saying, I need help. I need to be able to get myself therapy. I need to be able to get medication to be able to take care of this mental illness. And I was able to do that. And I talked to Dr. Cortese, who I believe is one of the best therapists here in this area. And we talked for a month. We talked about problems. We talked about my home life. We talked about my children. We talked about this illness. And what he did was try to find a medication that works best for me. May not work for Dr. Smith or his family or Bob, but it worked for me. And I was able to get this chemical balance under control. And I believe that's what it is. Mental health is part of a chemical imbalance. And I was able to get that correct. So I'm able today to stand here and I'm able to share my story with young men. Dr. Smith and I had a conversation and he said, 1 of 4 of you all in here will have this disease. How many people will stand up and say, you know what, I need help. I can't handle it on my own. You're talking to a professional basketball player that played in the NBA, that played 15 seasons, that's now coaching, and here I'm wearing my ring as a champion. And I'm able to tell a bunch of young men that I need help. I can't do it on my own. I have to go seek therapy. When it gets too tough for me, I have to be able to talk to that therapist. I have to take my medication every day to be able to stand up here proud to be able to share my story. How many people can do that? When I was your age, I couldn't do it. It had to take all of these episodes for me to finally realize, and I think I was 54 at the time, to be able to say, I can't do it on my own. I can't handle it. The book is not enough. I need to be able to see other means or other methods to be able to cope. So when Pete came to me 3 years ago and asked me to do this, of course I would love to do it. And then we had COVID and it was unavailable. And then he came back and he asked me, Bill, you think you can come and do that? Without a question. I am an example of a young man that sat there, was an all-star player, was an All-American, was a highly decorated coach now, and I struggle with mental health. And I'm not ashamed about it anymore. And if you guys can take anything from this message, is don't be ashamed. Stand up. Talk to your mother. Talk to your father. Talk to your brother. Talk to your coaches. Talk to your teacher. And tell them that you need help to be able to get through the struggles that you have. And we all have struggles. You guys have struggles with school, right? With basketball, with the coaches. So you got to be able to stand up and be a man to say, you know what, I need help. And you're talking to a guy that's highly decorated. It's a specimen of a man that said that I had problems, and I'm here to share my story with you all. And I'm willing to share this story individually. I'm willing to go into schools and talk about mental health and how it's changed my life and how it got me to the point to where I can come out here and share my story. So I would like to thank you all for the time. Thank you, committee, for allowing me to come and share my story. And I wish you all nothing but the best of luck in everything that your endeavors. And I'd be remiss, artists, if I didn't tell them to come and get season tickets. Yeah, you know what, I'll take questions. Pete, you gave me 10 minutes to talk, and I know I always spoke that 10 minutes, so I'm good. So you know what, if anybody has a question for me, just make sure you raise your hand, and I'll be able to answer as many questions as they allow me to answer. Go ahead, Coach.
Coach, I got to know you, you seem to be, have it all together. Were you worried about the perception when you came out and told people you had some mental health issues? And also, do you regret not doing something sooner about it?
I do. I did a heck of a job coaching basketball, right? And like I say, Dardis and I have been friends and worked together for 12 years, and he never heard my story. He never knew that those are the things that I struggled as his coach, right? So to be able to now stand up and be able to do it 10 years later, yeah, I'm a little sad that I wasn't able to do it, because I know this talk here today is going to help someone, right? Just like me as a coach, I know that I'm going to get one or two players that down the line will remember something that I said, and it'll make them a better player, it'll make them a better person, and it'll make them a better father and a leader in their family. Yes, over here, stand up.
My question is, you talked about your preparation as a coach. We have a lot of students here that are preparing for the games. If they go through something in their head with a mental issue, can you give them something like how to deal with it because they're not able to do it themselves?
For sure. For me, as a player, what got me through playing 15 years professionally over in Europe, and that's when they only had 2 Americans. So my job was on the line every game. I couldn't have 2 bad games. So what I would do would be the first one in the gym. I would go out and get my work in, but then I would come back and I would read. I would read something that was able to relax me. I was able to get some music to be able to relax me. Anybody that has ever been in our locker room know that's what I do. I listen to church music, and it relaxes me, and it takes away the stress and the anxiety about going out there and doing my job. Basketball is perpetual. We don't know what the next play is going to be. So I got to get myself mentally prepared to be able to be ready for anything. So that's what it is. If you guys can prepare by clearing your mind, reading, and listening to music, I think that'll be able to help you. Anybody else got any other questions? Yes, sir.
You know what I like is the 3 things that I mentioned, right? Resiliency, courage, vulnerability, which you've shown here again tonight. And the third thing was emotional intelligence. When I heard you talking, all 3 things came through. Over time, you got to know yourself, you showed the courage, and you've had resiliency. I applaud you for that, so that they know exactly what it takes.
The one thing that Dr. Smith and he and I talked before, we visited before we got started, and the word that he talked about, I guess that resonated with me, was courage. I have the courage right now to stand up and say, I struggle with mental health. I have to be medicated. I have to seek help from a therapist. So I have the courage to be able to do that. And you young men today, has talked to a guy. How many people want to play in the NBA? Nobody.
Play in the NBA.
In the NBA. How many people want to play in the NBA? If they had a chance, right? Everybody would want to play in the NBA if they had a chance, right? So okay, guys, all right, here we go. That chance came to fruition for me. And now, I was that guy. I was the guy that, you know what, I got a picture on my phone with Michael Jordan. How many people would love to have that? I have that. But you know what, I also struggle. But I have the courage to come up here and say, you know what, guys? Yeah, I did play against Michael Jordan, and I have a heck of a picture that's in my house. It's on my phone. But, you know what? I can stand up here and say that I got mental health issues, and I struggle, and I'm doing better now. Anybody else? Well, gentlemen, go ahead, sir.
How do you manage like life responsibilities and not let it affect your play when you're in a game?
It's tough. It's about being able to clear your mind. You know, when you get my age, or you get to be an adult, you have to worry about, okay, I'm okay, but all right, that light bill was due. So did my sister turn the light off? Right? You guys don't have to worry about that because you guys leave the lights on. Because I used to do it at my age. and all the parents there know that you guys do it. But what you have to do is you have to find a space, right, to where you can go and you can think happy thoughts. You can say, you know what, I got a game today, I'm guarding the toughest player. Okay, I'm going to read this book, this article. I'm going to go about my studies and I'm going to listen to some music. And then I'm going to get ready to go out there and play. And once you get your mind under control, your body will follow. And that's what I had to learn. That once I got my mind under control, my body would follow. I wouldn't have those sweats. I wouldn't have those palpitations because I was thinking happy thoughts. And I was getting all of that negativity out of my mind that could be able to come over and overwhelm me. How many people have ever been to the States? Right? How many people ever drove down 75 going south towards Toledo? How many people know where that bridge is? I live there. I live out there. And when I was you guys' age, I drove over that bridge every day to and from school because my school is right down the street. Before I got help, before I took medicine, I couldn't drive over that bridge. I couldn't find myself to be able to go that way, and I lived there for darn near half my life. But it was a fear that my car was going to stop, my tire was going to blow out, and I was going to get stranded with my fear of heights. And Dardis and Ryan know it's a bridge in PEI that we have to go over for 25 minutes. I used to dread going over that bridge. I was like, oh, here it comes. I got to go to sleep. The Ambassador Bridge. All of those things were fear for me. But now, since I seek therapy, and now I take my medication every day, I can do it like it's normal. Because I've conquered that fear that I had. And it's with the courage, the vulnerability, the resilience, and the emotional wherewithal to be able to get through it. So you talking to a tough guy, you know, a guy that's been through the wars, that lost his vocal cords because he was in a battle underneath with a guy and he hit him in the elbow and it paralyzed my vocal cord. So that's why half of you guys can't even probably hear me. But that's the reality of it. But it doesn't stop me. I go on, I coach my team, and they have to be attentive to what I say. So that's who I am. That's my story. And I thank you all for listening. And hopefully I'm able to help someone through their journey.
Guys, rise up. Big round of applause. That was awesome. That's totally not what I expected. Rise up. Yes, sir. Okay, stay where you are. Don't sit down yet. Because I have a camera, I would like to take a picture of all of you with Coach. What do you think? And I'll post it on my socials. Let's take a big picture. Why not?